afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for attending today's meeting. Nice to see everybody healthy. Given the sunny day, we'll go through this agenda and get back into the sun. I'd like to call to order the Public Works and Urban Beautification May version of our committee meeting. Do I have any declarations of conflict of interest from anyone?
None.
Everything okay?
Yes, sir.
The approval of the agenda. You've had a chance to peruse the agenda. Someone want
I'll
to
move.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just under the agenda, I know at the last meeting I asked about this issue keeps being tossed back and forth from economic development and back to here. It's keep our hometown beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I did raise it at the last meeting, if we could address it. Could I add it, or how do you want to proceed with it?
Sure, we can add it.
Just to find out where we're going with it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I could go H if you don't mind.
The only thing about that, it does not fall under our, when you look at the terms of reference,
I
it
know.
does not fall under us at all. It's been under economic development.
So Scott, what I'm saying, if anything, he can go back into the mayor's office and we can work with beautification, we can work with economic development, just to get it going.
Mm-hmm.
I think that should go to this council advisory committee. Wouldn't that be a good place to start with that?
It's not a committee.
If we're changing the terms of reference, yes,
Yes.
but if not, then it would be council, but if you want to change the terms of reference, your worship, to put it back into the mayor's office.
Well, we put it with beautification, whatever you wish, like,
Yeah.
I think it should be with beautification.
And that's what we thought it was going to be here as part of your overall plan.
Okay, yeah. Just at the
Okay.
moment, it's
Well,
under
I
the
think
economic development.
kickstart the discussion of where it's gonna go and the rationale for where it's gonna go should be in the realm of the council advisory committee. That's,
If you're changing the terms,
That's
if
what we
if
do.
it's going to come here, yes.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
yeah, and even if we decide not to change the terms and leave it where it is, it should be the CAC that brings that recommendation into this room.
Let's go.
Whole council,
Good,
right?
so you don't have to have it on the agenda.
Yeah.
I'll leave it with Councilor McLeod.
We're meeting on Friday.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
There you are.
So,
Thank you, sir.
We have the, do I have a seconder on the approval of the agenda? Mover,
Oh.
seconder. Moved by Councillor, okay, Councillor Twill? You
Just wanted to, this meeting's recorded live, correct?
It's going live now.
Yeah.
It's on
Okay.
YouTube.
So if you want to discuss a confidential matter,
We're going into closed session,
Yeah.
we go in closed session.
Yes.
So you know
which we're doing that today as well.
we are going closed session?
Yeah.
Okay,
There is no mention of a
No,
closed session.
not on the
here.
agenda.
Sorry, if there was an issue
Yeah.
you want to discuss.
so remember the issue there that we advanced from Parks? You said it was gonna be on the agenda,
Which,
Victoria Park?
that could be done either in open or closed, so and
Okay, that's fine.
That's the design piece of it.
Okay, well, we'll put it in the open, and if we find out as we go along, if it's not open, it should be closed, we'll switch into the closed, is that?
Okay, if we
Because
could,
there's nothing else in closed.
I'm sorry?
There doesn't seem to be anything else.
Okay, that's,
There's
if
no
we-
mention of moving into a closed session.
okay, so we'll,
Okay, I'll just put that there, Councillor Twill.
okay, and the UPEI road extension, that's live.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, everything's live today.
That's fine, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I have a mover, Councillor McLeod has moved the approval of the agenda, and Councillor Yankoff has seconded. Any discussion on that particular issue? Okay, our question is, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries
Thank you, sir.
3-0.
4-0.
4-0. Adoption of the minutes, one set of the minutes on April 24th, 2020. Just have time to review those. Any discussion, any issues with them? If not, could I have a mover for those? Moved by Councillor McLeod and seconded by His Worship Mayor Brown, that the minutes of April 24th be accepted as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. 4-0. Business arising from the previous those minutes of April the 24th?
Mr. Chair, again, I go back to this, I brought it up again under the adoption of the minutes in our last meeting,
Mm-hmm.
with the request for engineering services, EXP. Just wanted to know the status of their work on the island. Are they able to get here on the island to do work with the quarantine?
So for the time being, they have been outsourcing some of the work, like survey work, to local companies to collect that data. They're still working to figure out that plan with their province and our province to make sure that they can get staff over here to finish up some of the inspection work, data collection, all that stuff that they need to. But they do have both one internal resource that lives on the island that is working for them here collecting data, as well as local surveying company doing data collection for them. So they're getting the information they need at the time being to complete some of these projects, and a couple of these are on the docket today.
So just on a supplementary question, can we get a timeline for some of the projects that are outlined in that proposals for engineering services? One being the culverts on Exhibition Drive, because my understanding is that we're holding off any storm management plans because of the proposed fixing up of some of these culverts. Could I just ask for the next meeting a timeline?
Yeah, we can definitely try to get that put together. Yep.
There's 6 different ones, is there? Mr. Evans, 6?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, there's a number of
Thank you,
projects.
sir.
That can be done. Thank you very much, Your Worship. Moving on to reports, the first report of the day is the Charlottetown ADL system. Would you like to take that, Mr. Adams?
Certainly. So back in 2016, late 2016, we issued a request for a proposal for AVL, or GPS as other people know it, system to be installed at the time Public Works fleet, but as well eventually expanded to other departments. We had received 7 submissions at the time. A review committee made up of his staff internally reviewed each proposal and selected Go Fleet Corporation to provide this service. It was installed in 2017, and then that's when we entered into a 3-year service agreement with them. So since then, we've also expanded this system to water and sewer fleet and Parks and Rec fleet, and always potentially looking at moving it to other departments in the future. So to date, it's been very successful. We've noticed a significant reduction in idling times, fuel savings, as well as it also has helped us on a few occasions with vehicle accidents or insurance claims, where someone would say our plow came by and hit some vehicle or some object, and then we can look on the map and say, no, it was actually never there, or it was going in the opposite direction of the damage. So it has helped us in a number of cases like that. So the system has been excellent. We're still modifying and working with the company to make improvements. So yes, we are at the end of our 3-year term. We can extend it for additional period of time if we need to. And at this time, we're recommending that we're asking the committee to support our recommendation to extend it for a period of time before going out to RFP, a new RFP for a couple reasons. One, we're still trying to learn exactly what we want in this system. There are different add-ons. We are trying to get the winter Find My Plow app up and running, which we have our summer students working on that this summer, with the intention of it being fully ready for the fall this year. So we like to follow through with some of these other features, see if it's something that we want to continue with in a future RFP or how we want to deal with that. The other issue is the equipment that we have in the vehicles we own. We've paid for and owned it, so that could potentially, and we'd like to continue using it. It's in great shape. There's no reason to replace it. The issue is it is a particular brand of GPS tracking, because that's when we selected it. That's what ended up happening, and so we're not sure if we would have to change our GPS tracking to allow other vendors to bid on it, or we'd have to say you have to be able to use this hardware that's already installed in our vehicles to continue tracking for us in the future. So we'd like to work out those details first before we issue an RFP to go out back out for a new service provider and a new agreement after that. So I guess that's what we're coming here today, asking for an extension, if council would agree to extend those services for an additional period of time until we can get those small details figured out.
Question, Your
Thank you. Question, Councillor.
Okay. So, thanks for your report, Scott. Has there been any conversation with some of these companies, like as far as if we were to, when we go to tender this out again, that these other companies can use our existing, has that been
And
done at all?
We haven't talked to them yet. We've done a little bit of research online to see. So I guess the hardware is provided by a company called Geotab, and then GoFleet is a third-party vendor. They essentially have this front-end software that takes this data from Geotab and does all our fancy calculations and tracking for us. So Geotab does have a number of third-party vendors out there, but we don't know who they all are, how many would be interested in bidding on our stuff. And we're also going to try to see maybe they can still use this hardware, but there's a way that we have to get them data. So we would have to look at that because we'd like to, ultimately, it will be a cost savings for us to keep our existing equipment, but it may limit who could bid on. So we want to fine tune those details first to see what would be the best option.
Because what I gather is, back in 2016, there was 3, 4, 5 companies, I believe, was it not that?
Yeah, 7. Yeah, we had 7
There were 7,
submissions.
was it?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. And to Mitchell's credit, sometimes, it's important that we support local, right? So
Of course.
I know, just in my circles of conversations, there is some companies saying that they're ready now to tackle what we want. So I would hate to see us
absolutely.
not to be able to give the opportunity. But if we're not quite done with this, I can understand that as well.
Yeah.
But I think we don't want to tie it up too long where we're not allowing other businesses and companies to have an opportunity at it. And we might, of course, they'd have to meet all our requirements as well. But anyway, just a comment. Thank you.
Of course.
Yep.
Brian?
Oh, thank you.
Over here.
Chair, you've been around since 2014. You were part of that, I'm sure, voted on that tender. It's the reason I'm concerned that we're now looking at if the equipment could be adaptable to another company. I think GPS is a very specific industry. It's like you can't use Boeing airplane parts for a Ford Motor car. It has to go with a plane and a plane, a car and a car. So I really would like to defer this so that we can find out from some of our local suppliers if they're able to, if their technology is transferable in terms of the hardware and the software. And the reason I say that, I know that Councillor Yankoff, I'm hearing it, it's buy local, and I'm just trying to make sure that we do a call out just before, like, we're already a year, this is beyond its tender contract.
It would have ran out about a month ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we added
because we
another-
didn't enter in roughly then, because we had everything installed winter, spring of 2017, and after the install, spring 2017 was when the 3-year service agreement started. So we're right on par with we're at the 3-year
And
mark.
Mr. Chair,
So the year that they're requesting would accommodate your suggestion?
well, if
Sure.
before we extend it, could we not just look at
It's already in the
if we can go to
extension
tender on it?
It's already in the extension phase, Your Worship.
Oh, it is,
By a month.
by a month, but
Yeah,
can
I
we
believe
just go
it's
to
a
2
month, yeah.
months and say, let's see what's out there? And I just want to say, Mr. Chair, Scott has done an extensive amount of work on this, and most of the reports are the reports that we will be looking at today. He's done his homework.
Yeah.
I just don't want to correct this homework yet.
Yeah.
I just want to get an opportunity to see if some of our local distributors or providers could make their equipment adaptable. So instead of 1 month extension, look at a 2 month extension and then take it back here, if that's okay.
If I can just
No,
ask,
it's a year extension.
Yeah, but we haven't signed, this is to sign on the 1 year extension, correct?
Well,
that is the request today, Your Worship.
Yeah,
But right
so
now
instead
we're-
of signing today,
But right now, we're already in the extended period, and
Yeah,
if,
we
even
have
if we
11
were
months
gonna go to tender, we'd still be another month or two out anyway, by the time we went through the whole process.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I
but-
will say, we don't have to enter into a contract. We're just on a month-to-month basis.
So
with
that's
this
all I'm asking,
develop-
just
with
give
this
us-
company, yeah. So
And
there's
they're
no.
okay with that.
What's that?
They're okay with
Oh,
that?
yes, yep, it's the same rate, everything, we just pay our monthly fee, for our services per.
And what His
So.
Worship is suggesting
Yep.
could be done
Yep.
during the period of time,
Mhm.
correct?
yeah, and Mr. Chair, I just have a question on some of the systems the system he's used. It's in the background of the proposal
Geotab,
that went
Your
out.
Worship. It's on Geotab.
Yes, but I looked at the, where is it? Just give me second, here it is. So, Scott, is it, Dickie John is a spreader control system, right?
Correct.
That Dickie John has, I think there's a franchise for the whole Atlantic region.
Yeah.
It's owned by an Ontario company.
Yep.
Okay, so if we're using Dickie John,
Mhm.
then if a new company took over, another company took over this system, what would be the transfer issue?
So, well, that's completely separate. So,
Yeah, because that's a tracker of salt and sand, right?
no, it's not.
It
So
is.
Dickie John, there's Dickie John and there's Bosch Rexroth. Those are the two
What's
key
La
players in
Rochelle,
the
is
industry.
that the other one? La Roche?
Bosch Rothschild or Bosch. We just call them Bosch. I forget what their full name is. They are controls for plow equipment. So they're the ones that control the spreaders. And their technology allows any third party to plug in to it and take that data off of it, as long as the model's new enough. So our equipment does plug into our newer spreader controls, which we are currently doing. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, any other questions? Councilor Wheel.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. So, all's not lost here. There's still an opportunity within a month to explore possibilities of our local firms having the opportunity to bring forward the service and what they have to offer.
You know, the request from Mr. Adams, from the department is for a year. Extend the contract for a year.
For a year.
When all, his worship just has suggested, what you're being assured will be done. This will
Okay,
all
so-
fall within the year. That's all the request is just,
Okay, so it's for a year.
No, it's
Not
going on
for
a
a month.
month-to-month basis, that's what he just said.
And I would say the reason why we asked for a year is because we have to. We're getting, like I said earlier, we have our summer students who are working on getting our Find Our Plow app up and running. So they're working on that, so to ensure it's ready for the fall. However, if we change providers, there's no sense in them going through that working with our current provider to get that up and running. If we do decide to switch providers in sometime in the next few months, that's all that information or all that work's obsolete now, and then we're back. So the reason why we asked for the year is so that we can work on that Find My Plow app, get that up and running for the year, for this winter, and run it for the entire winter. See how it works, see what we like, what we don't like, so that when we write the new RFP, we can say, we want these features in our front end model for the Find My Plow app. Also we want these features for our tracking. So it just allows us that time to get to use that app or that portion of our services, as well as take a better, closer look at what we're being offered now, what we want to improve, what we can delete, what we're not really using, those types of things, just to make sure our RFP is done
I
right.
would think that the longer you leave it to enter into a new contract, the more money you save. I don't imagine the new contracts would be cheaper than the present one.
And you wouldn't, I wouldn't know until you go out to tender, I guess.
So we come down to a month or a year.
Just the only other thing I would like to add is that I understand from the administration side what you're saying, but at the same time, we kind of have a commitment to support local. We all know what COVID-19 is doing, and just try to, I guess, keep that in mind that if we can do something here to help some of our local businesses, we should, right? So I just hate to see us shut them out, just because, could we have a conversation with them?
Sure.
And say, how would this affect your, could you do that plow? If you can't do the plow thing, well then, okay, let's just move on the way we were. But I think we should reach out to the local
But
companies.
you must remember, the Atlantic Provinces Agreement stipulates it's $25,000 in services. It has to be over $25,000
Yes.
before the agreement sets in.
Right.
For purchases, it has to be over $50,000 before, and for construction, it has to be over $100,000. So there's a lot of purchasing power leading up to those locally, leading up to those plateaus. So, it's not as though everything has to be.
No, but we, as the city, we're pressured quite a bit to help out our community, right? And we can't always throw money at things, but
And
this is an opportunity where we could, right?
The people that are pressuring us have to realize that is a provincial government document.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not a municipal.
Atlantic provinces.
It's nothing to do with us,
Yeah.
other than when we get in trouble by not adhering to it. There's a lot to do with us.
That's true.
Councilor Twill?
I appreciate what you're saying, Chair, about what the prerequisites are and what the stipulations are. But to be honest with you, a lot of the local firms, they don't understand that. they don't care about that. What they continuously say to us is, look, we're setting up businesses in this community. We're a part of this community. We pay taxes in this community. We want to excel in this community. We wanna, expand. We wanna hire more people. We wanna offer our services. We're very confident that the services that we provide can not only help assist the city, but maybe even take it to another level. And what they're saying is, give us an opportunity, give us the opportunity to be able to compete. That's what they're saying. Give us the opportunity. And I know, Scott, from an administration perspective, as you pointed out, you're still trying to work through the specifications. And I appreciate that, because you're not there yet, and I appreciate you admitting that. I really do. But from an administration, and then there's the outside City Hall, where we have to field the questions and people ask for, just what they're asking for, Chair. Just give us the opportunity. That's all they're asking. They don't understand, whether it's 25,000 or 50,000, 100,000, the Atlanta procurement agreement. They couldn't care less. All they're saying is, we're here, we're with you, this community, we contribute to this community. And we would just like the opportunity to be able to compete and show you what we have to offer. That's,
Councilor Twill, they should take that presentation they're giving to you. You should send them to the provincial government, because it's a provincial government agreement. But we're off topic here now,
So
okay?
if I could, Mr. Chair.
Can we just go to 1 month?
So what we're doing, it is month to month until we finish our data collection. So it may take 3 or 4 months by the time we finish our process anyway.
yeah.
But in the interim, we can contact others and see, do they have the ability
please, Peter.
to design
please.
or to match
Yep.
our gear, because we don't want to replace all this gear again, because it's
No.
paid for.
You're the
So
rainmaker.
It was a
You're
significant
the
investment.
rainmaker.
Yeah.
No, but Peter, you understand what we're saying.
Yes, and we will,
Yeah.
we will do both. We will
Yeah.
do our
Right,
data
I
collection,
understand. For sure.
and we'll also reach out and see if they're able to do it.
Sure.
No,
Are you
I think
okay
so.
with that, Mayor Brown?
Yes, the
Thank you.
rainmaker said it well.
Thank you. So we don't need a resolution, everybody's happy?
Everybody's happy.
Oh, we're all
I
happy.
hope so.
A little bit
Kumbaya.
anyway, okay?
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adams. You wanna move on to micro surfacing, please?
Certainly. So this was asked to be brought forward at this committee meeting, just to put a bit of a report together on microsurfacing. And I guess so. Microsurfacing is it's a surface treatment designed to extend the life of asphalt by 6 to 8 years, and it's to take good roads and keep them in good shape. And it provides skid resistance, restricts moisture intrusion, and it just protects the structure from further damage. And it also provides that leveling course. So we get some streets that are in the asphalt looks great from a technical standpoint, but it's not the most greatest ride, either rutting or has a little bit of patching. So this helps take that out while not investing a significant amount of money into the repair of these roads. Instead of repairing, we're maintaining them. It's another tool in our toolbox. And when it comes to pricing, you're looking at about $9 a square meter, where resurfacing can upwards of $14 to $15, and that amount keeps going up every year. Then you also have to look at the other side of things, where when we mill and reseal or pulverize a road, we're doing the full width of the road. So sometimes you have wider shoulders or you got more asphalt. We're here, we only focus between white line to white line, because that's all you need to worry about. So you're reducing your impact or your square footage that you have to do. And then there's also the downtime. Mill and surfacing takes significantly longer time to do road repair compared to microsurfacing. A long stretch of road can be done in a day, and they're in and out, and that's it. So we've done this work since 2017, and we've had great success since then. Yes, there was a couple of roads last year that, because of the late season and a bit of moisture on the road, we've seen some bit of damage, or a bit of what we call peeling off. That is all going to be repaired this summer when the contractor returns to the island, because they had to finish up last year's contract, as well as repair these areas. So that will all be repaired. There is a 2-year warranty on all this work, which is a nice bonus as well. Anything they repair this year, we get to extend it for another 2 years to make sure that it's going to last a while. So as I said, this is another tool another tool in our toolbox that we want to have to maintain our roads over the long term. It's not going to be the fix-all for all streets, like I say. It's a tool to use at the right time, at the right place, for the right roads. And so we keep that in mind when we're selecting these roads and looking at it, and looking at the impact it's going to have on traffic, looking at the long-term impact on maintaining the road, before we make recommendation on what streets we actually do each year. So we do recommend continuing this program. We do have, out of our budget, at the bottom of the page here, you'll see $215,000 of our current budget allotted in the capital budget is for the carryover from work from last year. So we have an additional $319,000 for this year budgeted as part of the capital budget program.
Thank you. Councilor Clyde.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thanks again, Scott, for your report. So how many years after a road gets milled and paved, would we go before we decide, no, we can't microsurface that now because of the, so it's gotta be within a short realm of number of years, I would take it then?
Not necessarily. It really depends on how well that road was built. You can have roads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have roads that are. I'm trying to think. When was University Avenue widened? That was.
2.9, 2.10.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
9-10 years ago.
I was walking on it in 2.10, knocking on doors.
Yeah. It's, so we're 9-10 years since then, and. That road is in great shape. It was, other than the rutting, that was the biggest concern with that, and so there's a safety concern with that. We're starting to see some reflective cracking, which is normal at that age, and so that's why we chose that road as an option A, to reduce impact to traffic, because it is a busiest street in the city, but as well as it was to extend that life of that asphalt. So there's a number of variables to determine what that trigger point is.
But so it shouldn't be used as a just to get something paved because there's pressure from the community to do a particular street. I mean, that's not what this is designed for.
No, this is literally, I always use the analogy of your home. If you have old wood siding on your home, right? If it's in good shape right now, but you have there's a few places where it's flaking off and such, you scrape it down, you put some more paint on, and it extends life. But if you have a lot of areas that are starting to rot and all that, no, you wouldn't. You're wasting your money throwing paint over it, right? So it's the same thing. If you have a lot of reflective cracking, a lot of alligator cracking, a lot of shoving, a lot of moving, no, it's not a good application.
Okay. Good. No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Yankoff, anything to say?
No, I don't think so. Thank you for asking.
And
Could I
so
just
this-
ask, Mr. Chair, I'm just looking at the capital budget, so we have 534, so that equals to what we'll be spending.
Yep.
And could I add, Mr. Chair, that the province did do microsurfacing, and then they did get out of it. I don't know if New Brunswick still do it, but I know that the island did. So Terry Kelly, I think you know who Terry Kelly is. He's a soils engineer that worked with the provincial government for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd like to at some point in time invite him into our committee just to go over, because he knows that we're not like Nova Scotia, bedrock, or New Brunswick. We have a sandstone that's always shifting, and it requires a lot of imagination and innovation to keep the roads operational. So I do appreciate, Scott, that you're looking at, again,
Yeah.
a well-done
Mike
report.
Schorfstein was down in the province last year, so they've started back up last
Okay,
year.
so-
They did a big section they did 3 big sections. And one of them is over on Riverside Drive, which, after talking to their provincial engineers, this spring, or not too long ago, actually, end of winter, they were very happy with how it's holding up. They were quite pleased, and are looking at extending or adding additional microsurfacing this year as well.
So I forgot to mention that. I know
Yeah.
that this is the first time in many years that they went
Yeah.
back to it.
Yeah.
So, maybe we can learn from them. Again,
Yeah.
the streets that you pointed out, north of the road, I think, from
Yeah.
McGill to Beach Grove,
Yeah.
a good solid road.
It
And the
is,
oth-
yep.
And the other road?
What to be,
University
University Avenue, the lower
Yeah.
portion, yeah.
From Belvedere towards Houston,
Yeah.
Your Worship.
Towards Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that okay, that street's, that's down in Ward
From-
4.
Yeah.
From Belvedere, Your Worship.
Yeah.
And so we are asking, Mr. Chair, that it is in the budget for this year, that we do finish last year's contract, and also allow us to do this application as well, and then we'll do final analysis, determine if that's appropriate moving forward.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. So a couple of things, Scott, as I understand. At our last monthly meeting, I thought the consensus was, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the consensus was we weren't gonna be doing any more micro facing here in the city of Charlottetown.
No, we
that,
asked for more information.
Pardon
sorry,
me?
Mr. Chair.
No,
we
I
asked for more
understand that. I
information.
understand that, Peter.
Mr. Adams has just provided.
Okay, that's fine. So, and you just indicated there's a 2-year warranty. Now, when we're talking about a 2-year warranty, does that mean they come back and completely and totally replace the materials they put down last year with new materials this year? That's
So-
the first question.
Yep.
It's not just doing certain sections where there's deficiencies or there might be a deficiency or a discrepancy. Are they gonna come back and completely resurface that all those streets that were done last year but were not done well, and we had that discussion, and as you indicated about the warranty, I wanna understand the definition of the warranty and what exactly the warranty means. That's the
So-
first question.
Certainly. So they won't, for instance, Mount Everett Road, there's a few areas on Mount Everett Road where it has started to pop up. So they will not repair or have to mill up the entire section, but they will have to repair a long stretch where it has. So essentially, if you're driving down the road and you see a small section that removed here, not here, but another section down here, if they're relatively close together, we're going to make them remove the whole section between. So we're not having a whole bunch of patchwork. Now, this patchwork is not the same as asphalt by any means. It goes down as a liquid, so it's like concrete. In a way, you know, when you pour concrete up against another surface, you can get that joint very smooth. You'll never notice that joint when you're driving a vehicle. Unlike asphalt, yes, you can get it to butt up pretty well, but most times you're going to feel either a small bump or a little bump. It's a different. I think that's what I'm understanding is what your concern is. Are we going to have some bumps or things like that? So at the end of the day, they're not replacing the whole thing. They'll replace the areas that have popped out or have been a little bit of flushing, we call it. They'll replace those areas.
Okay, on that, Scott, who did the inspection?
Our inspection would have been done by our internal staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you want to move ahead and do University Avenue as one of the streets. As you know, University Avenue is probably one of the busiest streets in Prince Edward Island. I would argue that the street right now is not really in that great a shape because of the pounding that street takes from the intense heavy vehicle traffic. We all know that. So, and there's many potholes on that street, you know, where it needs to be paved as opposed to, I would argue, micro surfacing. So what steps are you gonna take to make sure that when the micro surfing goes over, I mean, it's not just, you know, putting not even a Band-Aid, I would argue, over certain sections of University Avenue that are, for all intents and purposes, you know, I would say decimated. I mean, there's not only potholes, there are massive potholes up and down University Avenue. So please outline what the methodology is before you even put down the microsurface.
So what we
Mr.
do.
Adams, before you start, I don't think you have to go into great
Yeah.
detail. Mitch, Councilor Creel, you know, the surface of University Avenue is addressed in another way. We have our worst is first, and that's already been done. So look at, you don't need a long dissertation from Mr. Adams on this subject. It's an operational subject, so you just give the highlights.
Certainly,
We
absolutely.
have to move on.
Yeah.
We're at the second item of an agenda with about 7 or 8 items on it, and we spent 40 minutes already. So this is an operational issue. I'll give Mr. Adams the opportunity to give you kind of a high level.
We just love this committee, Mr. Chair. We just love this committee.
Yeah, I'll see you at supper time.
So, yeah, Chair, so can I just get a,
Yeah, just a high level,
Absolutely.
Mr. Adams, please.
So what
Yeah.
we do first, any potholes or any abnormalities in the sub asphalt, we will mill out and patch. And then the contractor comes in and puts 2 coats. The first coat is what we call leveling coat or scratch coat. That gets in the imperfections, so that it will fill up the ruts. It will try to level out between, if there's a little bit of a lip in the asphalt because of a patch, that will level all that out. Then there's a final coat, which is your final top coat, and that gives it your final shape, smooths it right out, and gets rid of any of those remaining minor imperfections. And the reason why we chose, or why we're recommending to do this section of University Avenue, is we also have for the plan to revitalize, part of the engineering services is to take a look at University Avenue. And looking at that plan, what we get back in hopefully this fall from our consultant, we do hope that council will move forward in the coming years. So my recommendation to Microsurface now, the road is still good, but it needs to be a little bit of maintenance to get it to extend its life, so that at the end of the day, what we can do is, in maybe 3, 4, or 5 years when we start implementing this University Avenue plan or University Reimagined plan, if council chooses to do so, that's when we would resurface. But I'd hate to resurface all University Avenue if council does want to adopt that plan in the near future. But again, like I say, it doesn't need to be resurfaced this year. It might, if we didn't do this maintenance now on it, it might be a few years where it may need to be resurfaced, but it is in good shape. It does have some patching up, but with microsurfacing, we can definitely extend the life to at least 4 to 6, if not 8 years.
That's what I was driving at,
Okay,
Councillor.
thank you, Councillor.
Chair, the longevity, according to you, is 6 years.
It's 6 to 8 years is what
Okay.
they typically say.
6 to 8 years.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Let's move on to Passmore Street.
Okay.
All right.
Passmore between University and Queen?
Queen, correct. Yeah.
What takes over after Queen to
Stewart.
Park? Stewart.
So yes.
My father grew up in Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed. Sorry. Yes, so Passmore Street was on the list to for this year to replace sidewalks and also to resurface. It will be resurfaced this year. So I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Passmore, but we do have some drawings in front of you there, Passmore. Of some probable option, but Passmore is a very narrow street.
Where is this in?
It is in Ward 4 at the moment.
10. Ward 10.
It is in Ward 4, and it runs between University Avenue and Queen Street. Like I say, it's very narrow, and we do have sidewalks on both sides of the street that are slightly smaller than 3 feet. So I think it's
1 meter.
0.97 meters.
One less than a meter.
Yeah. Standard sidewalks range between 1.5 and 1.8 meters. So we are by half a meter. So this complicates a lot of things. Snow removal is a big issue for us because our machine when its angles blades turn is about 1.4, 1.5 meters wide. So our blade's half hanging out over the sidewalk. When we come around poles, there's some poles here. If we try to plow around poles, we're on grass, unfortunately, damaging grass. So it's not ideal. So we would like to expand. So part of the goal was to expand our sidewalk. But if we do that, we're running up into right-of-way issues. And if we expand our sidewalks too far, we will narrow the road to the point where we cannot safely allow 2 vehicles to pass each other. So talking with our consultant and looking at the area, we are making a recommendation at looking at taking the street from a 2-directional street with on-street parking to a 1-way directional street with on-street parking and it would be directional from Queen Street to University, because Bayfield, which runs parallel to it now, just north of it, is 1 way from University to Queen Street, so it would be the loop for this area. And we have 2 options that our consultant had worked on. And option 1 shows with 2 sidewalks. The problem, we can make this work. Again, we can't get the sidewalks the full width of 1.5 that we would ideally like. because it just narrows in the road too much for plow trucks and garbage trucks. So we prefer option 2, which is one side with sidewalk, curb on the other side, and that allows us to get our 1.8 sidewalk while still allowing vehicles to park on one side, and allows emergency vehicles, garbage trucks, and plow trucks to travel safely through the road.
Mr. Chair, if I could. So we have had a discussion with the staff on this, Mr. Chair. If you look at the streetscapes around, there are a lot of deficiencies of treescapes on our streets. And as we're talking about upgrading University for the long term and putting in better atmospheric
Yeah,
trees and other
of
things,
course.
this is an opportunity, I believe, for us to do a sample of to prove what we can do. And it is a small enough street. It allows a full-fledged sidewalk. It allows curbing to put streetscape for trees, and also allows parking on one side of the street, so you can control the whole atmosphere. So I think this one might be one that can bode well as a test or pilot. It is a change, but you bring an atmosphere to the street that's not there at this time.
It would significantly revitalize the area, absolutely.
Chair?
Councillor Field.
Thank you.
Are you through, Mr. Adams?
Yep.
Councillor Field.
First of all, I'm glad you're looking at options to how to improve the functionality of the street. I mean, that's what we're here for. Yeah, as you indicated, there's a couple of options, and with each one of those options, there's the pros and then there's the negatives. You make that a one-way street, for example. I think you're probably looking to make it one-way going from Queen up to University Avenue.
That's
because
correct,
as you pointed out, Peter, Bayfield Street is one way going east to west. The problem with that is we have school buses coming down Passmore Street, school buses to drop off students, St. Jude's School. So that's one of your challenges. Where's the bus traffic going to go? And we've done a lot of work in this community to revitalize this community as well, to have more people move in, especially young families. And when you don't have sidewalks on either one of the streets, that creates a safety issue from a pedestrian perspective. But having said that, before I would agree to anything, Chair, I want these options to be presented to the people on Passmore Street, and I'd like to hear what they have to say. It's always been my stock and trade whenever there's a change or a dramatic change, or not even a dramatic change. I always invite the suggestions and recommendations and the perspectives from the people that live in Passmore Street. It's only fair because it's their street, they live there. Some of the people, you know them, Chair, Mayor Brown, you know them as well. Some of these people have lived there for a long, long time. So before we do anything, I would like, whether we do it at a community meeting or another methodology in terms of communications, collaboration, I would bring a recommendation to this committee that we take these options and present them to the people on Passmore Street.
I think, Councillor Twill, that's a decision that would have to be made by council, not us.
Council? Okay, that's fine.
So you can put a resolution to council.
Put a resolution, or what about this committee?
Well, it depends. If the committee today is going to choose either option 1 or 2, that will go to council, obviously.
That'd be part of
And
the
at
process.
that
If
time,
council decides.
or sorry if I could, or if you wanted to put that as part of the codicil for these moving forward, that can be done today as well. So depends what you want to do, Mr. Chair.
So I'll leave it up to committee members, what they would like to.
Do you want to go, Councillor?
Are you okay?
No, my question got answered
Go ahead.
through the conversation, so I don't have a question anymore. Thanks.
Mayor Brown?
So, as I said, my father grew up on Stewart Street. The Coles took over the house, Joe Coles, or Joe Coyle. The Coles lived there. That was
Coyle.
my father said. But that's Stewart Street, right? So then if you go to Chestnut Street, where you have the Invesco building and you have KKP, Quick Copy Printing, everything on that south side of that street is commercial, and there's a sidewalk there. You know, if we're looking for a streetscape to do something, why wouldn't we look at a commercial
Chestnut.
mixed with business, well, commercial mixed with residential on the north side. Why wouldn't we look at that kind of a street to do this experiment? Because Councillor Tweel is right. Going to Prince Street every morning, trying to get there before 8:30 when the bell rang. I'd be trying to find the shortcuts going to the school. I would go up Stewart Street, and the buses are going down there. So, and the buses, as he said, do come off Passmore. So it's a rerouting. That's one issue. But if you look at, and if you get the opportunity today, just drive down Chestnut Street and see that one side, on the south side, it's all commercial. And Scott, again, great report, but I don't think we included, Mr. Chair, did we include this in the budget for this year? I thought that was dropped.
No,
Passmore.
and so as part of this, the reason why it's here is that these are needing to be replaced, and so they're coming up with a strategy to work this into our overall approach. So it's already it's already in the budget, Your Worship, for this year.
So, Mr. Chair, I know it's a different street, but if we're looking at an experiment, which I think is all part of that revitalization of University Avenue, and Scott, this was talked about back in 2004, and it's 16 years later, we're still talking about it. So, I saw that in the call for proposals. EXP is going to be doing it. A great idea. So,
But I think the question before committee today.
I understand.
is not which street are we gonna do?
It's
what are
Passmore.
we gonna do with Passmore?
Yeah.
Like, that's water under the bridge.
Okay.
And maybe if it's a success with Passmore this year, next year it'd be a success with Chestnut, you know, if it works out well. So I don't think we should spin our tires a lot.
no,
You know, trying
no,
to-
I understand. No,
exactly what
I
you're
understand what you're saying, Mr. Chair. I'm just saying that if we have to redraw this,
Yeah.
that any expenditures, capital expenditures in Passmore don't happen this year until we figure out where we're going with it.
Yeah. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much. So, not to play a little devil's advocate here, but what about, two things. There's the university study, engineering study. So should we be playing with those side streets until we figure out what we're doing on the University Avenue? That would be my first
I think the thing is,
thought.
Councillor McLeod, is that
Right, you start
it's
making
been
money.
recognized that something has to be
Yeah,
done with
something,
Passmore.
and,
And the question is,
Yeah.
which of these two options
right,
is the one?
okay.
And
And
if
that's-
neither of these is the one, what
Right.
is the one?
Okay.
Okay, and my second part was, what process, has been put into the thought, or what is the thought on what side is the sidewalk going on and snow clearing?
Yep.
It is a big deal, cause
S-
one side is gonna get more snow because there's no sidewalk. Right?
Yep.
So, like, I get it out my way, actually, we share the street, Victory Avenue, right? They get fed up saying, why can't the plow go the other way for a change? Cause we get all the snow, they don't get any over there. So it is gonna be an issue with, when you do that.
Yeah, and it always can be an issue. And so we made the determination that if we went with one sidewalk, it would be on the south side streets because there's power lines on the north side.
Right.
So we would use the curb and gutter as the protecting of those power lines.
Tree or whatever.
Exactly, and then that, so that
So the
was.
plow would go the same way the traffic would go?
Yes, correct, of course, yeah, and so that would push everything towards the sidewalk side of thing, and then that way then when the sidewalk, the goal would be that they plow everything between the road and the sidewalk on that paved strip right there. There'd still be asphalt there, and that's where they would pile it up, and then when it was time to remove it, it would be removed. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Yankoff?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Adams, I'm wondering, when you're reviewing options on what you might do on Passmore Street,
Mm-hmm.
how big of an importance is looking at, obviously cost is important, but how big of an importance is looking at the wants and desires of the residents that are there, kind of circling back to some of what Councillor Twill mentioned.
And that's why we have two options here, where we do put the sidewalk on both sides. It's trying to balance that, making it operationally possible for us to clear these sidewalks. So we do get a number of complaints, and I'm sure Councilor Tweel hears them, that sometimes some of the streets on some of these side streets do not get plowed, at a certain time. And partially it's due to the no parking ban. It gets lifted at a certain time, and we're about to hit that area, and there's already people parking in there. And so meter-wide sidewalk, we don't send our guys down there because we don't want to damage people's vehicles. So unfortunately, then that sidewalk doesn't get cleared until the next night. So we're trying to operationally make some decisions that's going to it will benefit the residents of these areas as well, and make it safer. With one-way traffic, it's safer because now you only have to watch for traffic from one direction, and by putting the parking on the curbside and people on the sidewalk, if you're on the sidewalk crossing the street to your home or whatever, you have no parked vehicles to look at or worry about. You have a clear view of people driving. So there's a lot of safety benefits to making this change versus playing around, having sidewalks on both sides and having to cross with parked vehicles. So we do try to balance that. I know there's obviously the inconvenience. Some people, I drive on University and I want to turn on to Passmore. There will be a few people that are inconvenienced, unfortunately. It's a balancing act. We try to look at what's operationally possible to make happen, while trying to keep in mind the safety of the residents. And again, too, we're trying to revitalize this area. Some of these areas, this would be a nice facelift to these areas and really clean them up. Add some additional grass in front of some homes, right? And that's what we want to do, grass and some trees to really beautify these areas and to make it a street that people want to move to more often. So that's what we're trying to balance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Just two or three things. One is, Chair, as you know, I'm attempting to set up a meeting with yourself, Councillor McLeod, and Mr. Kelly to talk about on-street parking, these all-day parkers.
Yeah.
We've still, that's on the radar. We still have to deal with that,
Yes.
to deal with all-day parkers. So that's another thing that, we want to bring a strategy to council for further discussion. The second thing is, one-way traffic, according to police, when you have one-way traffic, then you're going to increase the intensity of speeding because there's no deterrence coming in the opposite direction, right? That's right from the chief of police. So I am surprised to see in your summation that police are recommending the one-way street when it's police all along that consistently, ever since I've been here, have stated unequivocally they're not in favor of one-way traffic because there is no deterrence coming in the opposite direction. And that's right from the chief of police.
But
So
there must be some circumstances that warrant it because we have lots of one-way streets.
I understand that,
Yeah,
but
we
he's
won't waste
talking,
a lot of time
but
on
he's
that.
talking making new streets one-way.
Yeah.
He's not talking about status quo. He's talking about making new.
I figured if they're dangerous if they're brand new or dangerous if they've been there for a century.
Well, this has come right from the
Yeah,
chief.
I understand.
Okay,
So, let's move on.
so anyway, I just want to reiterate, Chair Duffy, that we still have to sit down and deal with the issue of all-day parkers north of Houston.
Yeah.
We
that's
got to
right,
deal with
yes,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I want that factored into the equation as
sure,
well.
Yeah.
And Chair, just one more time, so if we're going with the collaboration process, it's done by a resolution? How does,
To go to a public meeting, or what we can do both, according to Mr. Kelly, if this group here wants to have a public meeting as a group.
Yeah.
With the public, of course, it can be a recommendation of this group, or we can leave it wide open, not mention it, and you, on your own instigation, could
So much to-
ask council.
Mr. Chair, if you're wanting the public input, then staff can meet, write to the residents, meet with them, and don't choose either options right now. Let us go through that process and come back with a option at that time, because right now there is no sense in going after the fact.
Yeah.
If you do want that input, then staff can take some time and we can have that discussion.
Sure.
So, Mr. Chair, could I also propose that no capital work will take place in Passmore until this is correct?
No, it would have to come back here, your worship.
Yeah,
for
but no
option
capital
one.
work will take place in Passmore until.
Option, option one, option
Thank
two.
you, sir.
in the
Staff
collab,
will get input from the people on the street.
how would they go about that, Peter?
We would, we'll work it with.
WebEx.
We'll work it with staff and we'll let you know.
Let me know, because I want to
Sure.
listen to what the residents are saying too.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, folks. So we can put this one aside.
Put it on the
Thank you,
shelf.
Mr. Adams. I think we're moving on to the benches, the park benches.
I heard you're asking about this.
I'm asking about it too.
So-
Bench dedication program, you wanna take it away, Mr. Adams?
Absolutely. So back about a year ago, we came to this committee, asked to suspend the program so that we could review what our current memorial bench program is and how we can update it and match and see what other communities were doing around. It is a costly, it can be quite costly. Those benches are fairly expensive, usually in the vicinity of $1,400 to $1,500. And again, that price seems to slightly increase every year as everything else does. And so that's just to buy the bench and have it installed, not to, there's no long-term maintenance, there's no moving it around, all these good stuff. So we've had staff develop, draft a policy. We've had staff review the policy, both Parks and Rec and Public Works. And we have recommended the attached attached policy as our guiding document with your approval to administer the Memorial Bench program.
Thank you. Is that it, Scott?
Yep, unless you want me to do highlights of some of the changes or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some of the main highlights are, as of right now, if you currently had to pay $600 and the memorial bench was forever, we found a lot of municipalities, pretty much everyone, it was more of a kind of a rental. You would sponsor it for a 10-year period or a 15-year period. We thought 10 years was a good number. And then the fee increase, because there is significant cost with these benches and the storage and maintenance of them. We felt, and based on what other municipalities across Canada are doing, we felt that it was not accurate. So we recommended a $2,000 10-year fee for 10 years. And then you have first right of refusal to renew that for $1,000 after 10 years.
Good.
That's really the big change. Everything else is quite similar. Our staff will work with the resident or whoever would like to donate the bench or make a sponsor the event or the bench of a proper placement in our various parks or around the city. So those things are relatively the same. It's just most of the fees and the length of the bench.
Did your jurisdictional scan reveal any benches that were cheaper than $600?
No.
Initial and only?
No, I think the cheapest one, it was a while since we started looking at. I want to say like 1,200 was the cheapest one.
In your background, it's 14 to 1,500.
That's what our costs are right now, just to buy and install. That doesn't take into in long-term maintenance, replacement, repair, or anything of that nature.
Mr. Chair, I just want to, again, thank you for the engineer, Scott, for putting together a good report here. But where are the days of just a bench in the park gone to? When I grew up, there were,
Park bench,
yeah, just a park bench, like,
green one.
yeah, the green ones, and it was put out in the start of summer. You know, I think this whole idea of these historic benches came about back in the early 2000s when we were getting parks and recreation, we were getting requests, and then went out and started to buy them. Scott, I think it goes back 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while that it's
But,
been around, yes.
You know, Scott, if you look at people, they just want to have somewhere to sit. And it doesn't have to be cast iron or treated wood or something that will last, you know. Of course, you build a bench, you want it to last. And I'm just asking, Mr. Chair, what's the inventory on our benches? How many benches do we have? Do you have a number, an estimate?
It's well over 100.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
'cause
is that
there's
the
some that
historic
we look-
benches?
Majority of them are historical or historical looking. So we have the historical that are actual hardwood and varnished every year. But there are some in some parks around the city, not Victoria Park downtown area, that are it is a metal historical looking frame.
Right.
But then it's not wood, it's a composite material.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, just so we have maybe 100 of
Yeah.
and the majority are historic,
Yeah, they're historic looking.
imitated
Yes.
benches,
Yes.
right? What about just park benches? Would we only have 20 of them?
I don't think we have any of those. I don't think we have any Public Works. Parks and Rec may have, but I don't believe we
So
have.
I agree that we have to up the
Yeah.
fee because there is a cost. But Mr. Chair, as my sister-in-law mentioned to me last night, you know, this whole issue of physical distancing, people going out to parks, like if you saw this past weekend in Toronto, they just over flooded. It was an overflood of people. You know, we're trying to make sure that people stay in their own neighborhoods. If you do go out, stay close to home. So if we could have more park benches in our parks, not historic benches, but just benches I think that will allow people just to stay in their own area, because this physical distancing is hammered every day on the news, every day by the chief medical officers. Stay apart. It's pretty simple. Be smart, stay apart. So I'm just asking, I agree with the increase in the fee because there is a cost. I'm just asking that we make more benches, not historic benches, just park benches for people to sit on.
Can I just ask a point of clarification, Mr. Chair? What is the length of the historic benches?
10 years.
We have two different styles. There's a kind of a double one, which is essentially double the regular ones. But I want to say the regular ones are I want to say they're about 6 feet.
Yeah, they are.
6 feet, yeah. It was
And the
either
other?
6 or 8.
So can we get 2 persons per bench or
No.
1 person per bench?
One person.
Technically one.
So that is an issue right now, Your
Yeah.
Worship. After we finish dealing with this
Mhm.
current situation, that may be a good strategy, but right now we're not putting out much benches because 1 person at a time makes it quite difficult, Your Worship.
And then there's the cleaning. How do you maintain
Oh,
the
so
cleanliness?
that's why the benches are not going out, because we
Yes.
have to clean them
Yeah.
too,
Yes,
Yeah.
Your Worship.
on a regular basis.
Yes, Your Worship.
And
So
on
we're
the
not gonna have
boardwalk-
benches out this summer?
Not at this time, Your Worship.
Well, can we defer this?
What?
In the park, in
Why don't you
Victoria
just
Park,
defer
the
this?
benches are on
Just defer
the
this
upper
for a
side.
while.
Right,
the
that's
interior
right.
side. There's no benches on the walkway.
On the boardwalk.
I noticed
On the
that.
boardwalk.
That
They're
was,
sitting on the little
Mr. Chair.
enclave that is
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
for the park bench. They're sitting on that, using it as a bench.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion here, move to defer this, because, besides the memorial side of things, I agree with the mayor. I would take a tree stump right now out of Macaulay Park, I don't have anything. So,
Yeah.
there's gotta be a more economical way of creating some benches for people to sit in their other parks. Like, these are nice benches we have, I mean, they're composite, they're never gonna go away, they're there forever, which is nice, and Victoria Park should have those, I'm not saying it should, but I think we need to really sit down
It should be
and
longer.
put some more meat on the
And
bone here
longer.
before we
But
decide.
there's a secondary purpose also to the benches, and that's
Mm.
giving the general public the opportunity to remember their loved one or
Correct.
to
Exactly.
draw attention
Yeah.
to the path or somebody that they no longer have.
Yeah.
Put a little plaque on it, which, and that happens a lot.
It
That's
is.
a nice touch.
It is.
And
And-
financial, it is a contribution towards
Yeah.
the bench. But I will say one thing about Victoria Park, not even on this subject. Victoria Park in the evenings these days, maybe it's because of the pandemic, it's almost at full capacity after
It is.
after 6:30. If you park by the canyons and try to back up, and you're looking on your monitor on I'm not kidding you, you're there 4 or 5 minutes trying to back out of
Yeah.
that parking space, because there's a continuous
Flow of cars.
flow of cars to
Yeah.
Victoria Park. I'd like to see, our engineer people put a counter down.
Good point.
Just to count the cars, because I think, and the
Definitely
kite field, as we call it, right next to the canteen, is
Frisbee
full
field.
of people.
Yeah.
Either playing football or
Frisbee.
frisbee, or
Yeah.
there's a lot
Volleyball.
of people in Victoria Park on.
Yeah, there is.
Anyway, I'm off topic.
no, but you know what, that's a good point, because those Toronto scenes, or what was happening in Kansas,
Yeah.
is, like, we have to stop it, we have to, like, as Doug Ford said, the premier said, what are you doing?
Yeah,
It's
that's
pretty
right.
simple, 6 feet, 2 meters, stay apart,
Yeah.
don't be breathing over everybody.
Yeah.
So, if your local parks, I think we have about 150 parks in this city, people don't all have to go to one park, they can stay in their own area, but give them a bench, but I guess we'll have to wait until COVID-19 has subsided a bit before we get bench out.
Now, can't be mistaken that
Thank you.
the people are breaking the law on the kite field. Those are families that are, groups of families that are there, and their small children and that, and they're in their own little groups. I'm talking about the vehicle traffic movement.
No, but I understand that, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that laneway is
I
open.
think Atlanta has a question.
And just
Mr. Evans.
just one more note, by increasing these fees of a memorial bench, the biggest part is it will free up some of our budget that we currently allot for our existing park benches. So we'll free up money that if we want to expand or extend how many benches the city does maintain in various areas around the city, it will free up some funds to purchase additional benches and maintain those ones. Because right now we spend a significant amount of money every year on sandblasting and restaining a lot of these benches, because the old-fashioned ones, you need to do that or they will rot. And that's big money. But if we if we recoup a lot of these costs through these memorial bench program for those specific benches, then it will free up those funds for other benches.
Mr. Chair, there is a motion on the floor.
To defer?
A mover.
Oh, okay, we have.
Second.
I still had a question.
Elaine
You
had
have
a
a
question.
question, Councilor Bianco?
Yeah. A little tiny bit off topic, but everyone else had a chance to be off topic, so I plan to.
Staying focused.
Just wanna explain the same thing.
To the chair.
Does that mean that this entire summer, there's not gonna be any picnic tables put out along Victoria Row? Because my suggestion would be, why wouldn't you just put two together and put signage and say, you know, if you're not family and you don't live in a bubble with somebody, you must practice physical distancing. I mean, common sense has to prevail. You're just gonna have people sitting on the ground anyway.
And that's something we'll have to explore as the summer goes on. I guess that's one issue, and then it's the cleaning. How do we?
And so we have been approached,
Yeah.
and Mr. Chair, to put those out, and we're prepared to do that.
Mhm.
What we need to have is who's gonna take over the responsibility to clean. So if it's being used at the benefit of the restaurants, then they should be having staff go and clean them as well. So we need to find a way to make sure we're doing what we have to do to keep people safe.
And just then a follow-up to that, I do know that Downtown Charlottetown Inc. said that they would hire additional summer staff to take that role on. To go out and they'll do the benches and the picnic tables.
Then we'll have a
Yeah.
discussion with them and we'll
Yeah.
have,
Yep, for
find
sure.
Do that with our own staff too. Get our own
They're
staff.
awful clean, things.
Okay. Sign it
Okay,
up.
thank you. We have a motion on the floor, it was moved by Councilor McLeod that we defer this memorial bench program issue to further date.
and the mayor seconded.
And the mayor seconded.
More information? Is that what you're asking?
More information, yeah.
More information? Okay, we'll bring it back next month, or?
Yeah, I think so. We should be able to
Okay,
just talk this a little more.
any further discussion? And being none, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thanks,
Moving on, our next issue is the UPEI New Road. Issue. Councilor, Adams, please.
Certainly. So there we go. This of your big package here. I think it's page 2. We'll show. Yes, we'll show the new road and intersection. So UPEI is building a new, extending their road network on campus. For a number of reasons I've been told, but primarily A, better access on and off campus, and B is the emergency services. Right now, they've advised that, at 2:30 or whatever the peak hour is in the afternoon, those entrances are very heavily used, and their concern, especially from their security team, is emergency services accessing campus during those times in the event of an emergency. So they want to improve access to their campus, and so their proposal was to tie into the city right away at Inman Crescent, which is the ideal location. There is already a 3-way intersection. Traffic is controlled by a traffic signal. All work will be done by UPEI, including any modifications to our city right-of-way and infrastructure that needs to be modified to meet current standards. That includes traffic signals, line painting, widening, curb and gutter, sidewalks, all that stuff. To do the work, they're just going to be tying into that intersection and completing all the work on their right-of-way. So, I think that's all the information I have right now.
Any questions of Mr. Adams?
Chair? Thank you.
Rio?
As you know, during the planning session for the new student residents,
Yes.
I brought up at the public planning meeting, with the emphasis, as Scott pointed out, UPI is looking to improve and enhance their traffic flow throughout the university campus. I brought up the idea of both when we had the public planning meeting and when we passed the resolution, the idea of an underground tunnel pedway that would accommodate the student body at the University of Prince Edward Island, the faculty, the administration, participants that go to Cary. Also be a real benefit to the students at Charlottetown Rural and the people that live in the Emmett Crescent area. So I brought that issue up, and just in the 11th hour, I received a phone call from the Minister of Transportation and Public Works, the Honorable Stephen Myers, who saw the article in the media. The minister thinks it's a great idea, and the minister would like to participate with the construction of an underground pedway. I thanked him for reaching out to me. I indicated that very shortly, within a few hours, we're gonna have a Public Works Committee meeting, and that I would bring the minister's offer to the table. So with that in mind, I'm suggesting, Chair, that, we sit down with the province and explore that opportunity of constructing the underground pedway tunnel, and create a partnership. I mean, the university's handling their part of the bargain, but the minister was quite sincere, and he was very serious about constructing that underground pedway, and I think this is a great opportunity. Like I said, when I did my interview with CBC, the timing is right. As you know, there has been a number of accidents at this intersection, and regardless of who's at fault, it is a reoccurring dilemma, and it's so. With that in mind, I'd like the opportunity to explore that option. So that's why I bring it here to the committee, and I ask you for your support to at least explore the underground pedway. And I want to reiterate, Mr. Chair, that the Honourable Minister, Stephen Myers, was quite sincere, and he was very serious about participating with the construction of an underground pedway, and the timing is right.
Mr. Chair, we can have staff reach out to his office and, or his department and see their interest and approach and come back with a report.
The rest of the members of the committee agree with that? or-
So, Mr. Chair, so if we look at an underpass between the east side and the west side of University Avenue, I think the pedway would, the underpass would be more efficient or more safe, servable, or not, no, I think it would be more appropriate on the upper side, where you have University Avenue connected to the main campus, where you go into Bell Alliance.
The sign is, the UPI sign.
Right, because that would connect it to the student
That's what I
population.
thought from the beginning, actually.
What's that?
That's what I thought, where Brown's court is.
Yeah, well, I think he's talking about, going into Edmund Crescent.
No,
Well, I think that would be for further discussion.
Good point.
but the thing is, Mayor, is that, again, I just want to reiterate that the minister, I think we'll all agree. Let's make it safer. I mean, Scott, that's one of the things that you studied as an engineer, as pedestrian safety. It also ties in the active transportation with the new road going into the university. I think it's a win-win for all of us, and I want to thank the minister for
Let's
reaching
not
out.
close any doors. Let's give Mr. Adams the opportunity to speak with counterparts in the province and come back.
Go from
to
there.
us. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just
Okay.
one last question, it's about the drawings, Scott. If I look at the proposed roadway, the setback from University Avenue to the new roadway, is it 10 feet, 20, where's the calculate, I'm trying to find it. Do you know what the footage is, the setback?
Which setback are you talking?
So the new road will run parallel to University and then connect with
Yeah.
Edmund Crescent?
Yep.
That new roadway, how far is it, the setback from University Avenue? I can't see the numbers. Is it 20?
It's essentially, so you know where the old Marks Warehouse building is, if you kind of look at, so this building up here in the top corner,
Yeah,
that's the Marks building.
I know,
So I would say go back to the corner, it looks like.
the back corner.
Back corner,
Okay.
straight across is where.
So it's not, it will not be running parallel.
No,
like-
no, it will, because there's a big fill there, right? It's quite a drop there, so no, it would not, it's about the back corner of the
Yeah.
Marks building.
And the reason I say that, because when Dr. Allen mentioned it to me,
Yeah.
I said, how are you gonna have traffic going north on University and then traffic on both sides going south?
Right? There's more than enough gap, plus, yeah,
That's, I just wanted to make sure.
won't be confusing.
You okay, Mr. Adams?
Yep,
Great.
yep, we
Good,
just wanted to
thank
bring
you,
this
sir.
to council
So,
to advise them.
we don't need a resolution for that. Mr.
Yep.
Adams is just gonna touch base. Thank you, Councilor Twill.
Thank you, Chairman.
Councilor Brown. Councilor Yankoff. we move on to, take a look at the new future road between Towers Road and Spencer Drive. Any items?
Yes, so we wanted to bring this forward as well, just for advisement for council where we're at with this project. So we are, I believe, about, I want to say we're at the 75% mark on the finalizing this package to go out for tendering. And so on the big drawings, there's three separate drawings that just show some of the work that will need to be done. So the first drawing shows from the Spencer Drive Mall entrance down to the corner. All we need to do there is a bit of reshaping of the ditches to fix up that road because it's not up to current standards, as well as some paving, mill and paving to fix that section of that road up. And then once you get to the 90-degree bend thereabout, that's where it's all new road on land that we will be taking over as public right-of-way. So that's where the new road is connecting. So it will be a median barrier between the parking lot and the new road. That's that dark kind of shaded area there. That's a median barrier. There is one entrance that will run that is showing at the where is my drawing here? Sorry. There is one entrance here where it shows that the mall entrance pretty much runs lines up with the driveway along front of the the Cineplex. So that has been that is there, and then again median barrier all the way to Towers Road to create a four-way intersection there, at which you can go out to Towers Road.
So,
Question?
sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, will you still be able to cut through the mall?
Yes, I'm not sure what they're planning to do on their property. That's again up to Keelan.
That will change eventually, yeah.
But what this will do right now, as it currently was, Towers Road ends the mall and dumping
Right.
people into their parking lot.
Right. Okay.
And so all that traffic that was just trying to get to University Avenue was cutting in front of the theaters and all that stuff. This will divert a good chunk, a majority of that traffic, because no one wants to cut through a
It'll
parking
move
lot.
traffic along.
Yep.
Better. Okay, thank you.
We have some dandy potholes on that new.
Oh, is it
Yeah, yeah, that's,
Spencer and.
There's a shopping cart in one of them.
yeah.
Pardon?
There's a shopping
Yeah,
cart in one of them.
that's on their,
That's the
yeah,
warning.
Yeah,
that's their parking lot at the moment.
We were shopping there the other night when you Councilor Wheel.
I'm always shopping. Chair?
Councilor Twitter.
Thank you. Just a couple of points. As you know, last year I had a community meeting with respect to the multi-purpose pathway, and reviewed that with the residents. Mayor Brown, you were there as well. And, you know, there's a tremendous amount of traffic in Towers Road, and what's there now is not conducive and not safe for the pedestrian traffic, whether you're walking, jogging, running, cycling, whatever the case may be. So I believe, Scott, that the multi-purpose pathway is included in the drawings. I tried to review it. I'm not an engineer, but I tried to review it. So the multi-purpose pathway is there. So when can we, I think you're gonna send this out to tender, can we not include the multi-purpose pathway in this package? Because we're gonna be doing the work there now. There's a lot of construction taking place there now, and there's only one entranceway in and out of that construction that's affected on the south side of the street. So I think you know, safety for the people that live in the older part of Sherwood, the people that live in the new development. I constantly, when I'm out that way, they're asking me about it. So I'd like to once again reinforce you know, how important that multi-purpose pathway is to the people that live in that community.
In
Councilor
response,
Twitter, I'd like to thank you for your 3-time political broadcast. Go ahead.
So that's not political. It's,
in response to that, so yes, we included the design of the multi-purpose trail to make sure that it lined up with what we're doing in this area. We wanted to make sure we weren't going to be having to do things twice. So we want the engineer to take a look, make sure we're putting in the right spot, so it lined up with the intersection Spencer, or this new connector road,
Right.
And match in well with future construction in this area. But because there is still a significant ongoing construction in the area, I hate to see us put something new this year when there's still going to be a bunch. I think there's another 2 structures, large structures to be put up. So they will essentially have to do sewer, water connections that on to connect out to Towers Road and all that. So there's a significant amount of work still to be done in that area, and as well as budget, of course, too. We have to keep that in mind too. We only have so many dollars for budget for this year for this project, and I don't think it would be able.
But the drawings are gonna be done, or they're done.
That's correct. Yes, as part because we want
So
to make
then,
sure everything was done
Once
together.
okay, the drawings are
Yeah.
done, and then when we can bring that recommendation to council, we're gonna move that forward, right?
I don't know, I'm talking the road here,
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Tweel.
I know, but it's
Yeah.
in the drawings, Chair Duffy, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to be proactive.
In these drawings here, it's here?
Yes,
Okay, is it, Mr. Evans?
So these drawings here, yes, they do show it, but they're only for this meeting.
Yeah.
When we go to construction tenders, that portion will be removed because that was the original at time budget when we discussed it because of the construction and budget constraint. We would not do the multi-purpose at this time. We'd
At this
wait
time.
until construction subsided along that side of the street so that they weren't damaging, ripping up our. So it's just shown on this drawing, like I said, to ensure that everything lines up with everything at the end of the day. We don't want to be doing things twice.
And it's, Mr. Chair, it's the 3rd drawing,
Yes.
and it's on the south side.
Yeah.
right.
And I understand what our manager is saying, is that there's a lot of work yet to be done there, because I think the McQuaids are looking at building a seniors facility, and then Nourish Development. That's one building, another building's going up too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of construction.
there. Yes.
What's that?
There's a lot of vacant land on that side of the road.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think for Councilor Treel's purpose, I think it's important that you relay back to the folks here that are continuously asking you, right, that it's in the works. I think, I agree, but I do also agree that, like, there's a lot of, it's more than just putting down a multi-purpose path there, right? I mean, we're gonna have to stretch into where all the water is coming from all the subdivisions here, right? So it's probably, I don't know, but I would guess it'd be probably 300,000 just to do the engineering study on that multi-purpose path. Never mind putting the path down, that's just to do because there's water there, right? Whatever that.
They're already reviewing that, and that's all
Yeah.
part of this engineering package.
Yeah.
So that work's all going to be
That's
taken
gonna be
care of.
tied down, that's even better than.
Yeah,
there you
so
go.
it's already
Yeah.
going to be designed
Yeah.
and ready to go
Once the
when
construction's done.
once the construction and
Right.
we have the budget allows as
Yeah.
well. So.
Okay, that's cool.
And,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that's part of the parameters of EXP's job, to look
Yeah,
at box
right.
culverts, redesign of University Avenue, Towers Road.
Yep,
A lot of talk on Towers Road. but
there's
it's
6
good.
different items that
Yeah.
they're responsible.
I just wanna, as you know,
People
my
know.
continuation of working for the residents,
The people.
to make that community safe and secure.
Right, and we all
Right.
want that for all our neighbors.
Yes. Here, here.
This is a good
Here,
beginning,
here,
right
here.
here.
Yeah.
Good beginning, here, here.
Yeah.
Good
Moving
beginning.
on, we have, some information here about the new public works building, and, you wanna get that over, Mr. Evans?
Certainly. So we have issued an RFP to contract out the services for the design of the new public works building. That closed on May 11th, and there is an attached resolution for your review and recommendation to move forward to finance. As well as we have 6 additional tenders or RFPs that close within the next week. And I want to bring this to your attention because we hope that, again, like in the past meeting, we can send around via email the drafted resolution with our recommendation for forwarding to finance so that we can get it all in the docket for the June 8th meeting, I want to say, is the next.
So
Close
if
enough.
by chance package A that's due today
Yeah.
is clean and clear, then that can probably go to council on Thursday.
Okay, perfect.
If there's other issues, obviously that would be detaining that report.
Okay.
And if the one on the 28th, depending on time that closes, if that's also clean, that may be able to go forward as well.
Okay, perfect.
If not, that can go to the council on the 8th.
Yeah, okay, excellent. So we'll have that ready for that. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, could I just ask, the engineer or the manager a couple of questions. The size of this building in the RFQ was between 12,000, 15,000 square feet? I thought it was gonna be bigger than that.
It's not, it's bigger than that.
It's 23, isn't it
It's
now?
20,000, I think, right around there.
20,000.
That's what we,
That's approximately-
no, approximately,
there's
yeah.
no
So that's
design
100 by
review.
200 building.
So what we went out with is essentially is a good educated guess on what we may need for space or not. The goal of the RFP was to say, this is what we think we may need, but as a consultant, we need you to look at our actual needs, figure out what the best footprint to meet our needs while also ensuring that the building's not over-designed, we don't need certain aspects or features, and that will all be taken part of when we meet with the selected consultant, as well as when we have our internal meetings with staff and the CAO as well, to make sure that we're being responsible with what size of building that we need out there.
So, Mr. Chair, and we budgeted, I looked at the capital budget, $3 million, and Councillor Yankoff knows that we were looking at something for a fire station that was up to 31,000 square feet, and Foster Miller was estimating somewhere between 10 to 11 million.
And we know that's not gonna.
I know, Mr. Coe, just let me finish. I know you have a counter argument, but I'm just like our council. I'm just trying to find out what are the strategic priorities. We're looking at a fire station, public works building. We're looking at a multi-use sports center or multiple pads. Like, I know this is to go out to design, but there's no fix resolve to this, because there is an out in the tender that we don't have to fulfill by proceeding with this job.
No,
Yeah.
no,
And
exactly.
this is the
yeah.
design stage.
Oh, no, I understand that.
So we do have to have that discussion with a recreation and
Mhm.
also with utilities, so that this is just the initial
Yeah.
stages.
So-
If at that stage, when it's done, the design, we don't have to go to tender right away, depending upon the outcome. But it's an option that we can bring forward back once we adhere to the capital budget process, your worship, and that will come back here for discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple of questions. So, in terms of square footage, what was the original concept?
12,000 to 1,500.
What is it now?
I'm not sure where you got the.
That's in the RFQ that went out. I got a copy.
I thought it was. I'd have to double check, because when we last looked at it, I thought it was a little bit more than that. But again, our goal is to build it so to suit our needs, but as be smart in terms of how much space we use.
One of the things I talked about, Chair, early on, before we've progressed this far, is that I was never impressed with the construction of the current works building off of Macular Drive. I was never impressed with the hills and the valleys as you circulate around that building, and I thought one of the options that we could pursue, being proactive, visionary, was that maybe the city of Charlottetown should look at a different part of the city and construct a building that would meet our needs, not only now, for the next 25 to 40 years, and give us the number of acreage required to store materials that are required for public works, water and sewer, parks and recreation, as opposed to trying to do things in a piecemeal fashion. That building there, I believe, if, let's say, we wanted to explore that option, that building there could be sold to the private sector quite easily. And I thought, Peter, we had those discussions, and I'm wondering, did senior management even explore that, as opposed to doing things, and this is not a criticism, Scott, but because that building there, I don't think it's just functional as to what it could be or should be.
And so that is the reason, Mr. Chair, that we are at this stage where we own this piece of property, so we do save some substantial money there. The intent is to remove utility and recreation from the current facility, enable them to expand fleet in terms of mechanic bays, which we need desperately, and other operational needs. So the intent is to divide, and as you say, it's not working well, we make it work better, And then with the new operation for utility and recreation, it isn't to make it a palatial, but it's to make it workable, and to make sure we're able to meet the needs for the foreseeable future.
And if I could just add, Mr. Kelly, it's under the RFP Design Consulting Services Public Works Building. It was sent out April 2020, page 12.
Okay.
That's where you see the original footprint.
And again, that's at the time of your ship, and that will change as we have that discussion.
And the tender we're looking at is for $182,000 to look at Sable Irk to do the design.
So this is just the start of a very long process.
Yes, and also there will be discussion whether it should be tilt or whether it should be steel or
Yeah.
other issues as well, so that'll be all coming out during the discussion, yes.
So Peter, thank you, Chair. So Peter, having said what you said, is, and I know we own the land, or we own the building and the land now, I'm still saying we can get a return on the investment by selling that property. I'd at least like to explore it and put up a state-of-the-art building, where we can facilitate the needs and the requirements of all those departments. Every one of those departments are important in their own right, and be able to accommodate them for the next 25 to 40 years.
So if council collectively wishes us to go down that road, obviously we can. Right now, they gave us the directive through the capital budget to explore the options that before us. If it's not workable, we'll come back and let you know, but right now it's been approved by council and we're going that direction unless otherwise changed.
You can bring that up, Mitchell, at the council meeting where they will entertain the recommendation of this committee.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that exhausts that issue, I think. So do we have a mover for this recommendation going to council? Moved by Councilor Yankoff, second by Councilor McLeod.
Yeah.
Any further discussion?
Question?
All those in favor?
Yeah.
All those opposed?
No, I'm in favor. I'm favorable to council.
Four zip. Okay, now, we have a few, loose ends here that we have talked about the Hometown Beautiful. It's gonna be discussed next Friday at,
This Friday.
CAC.
Yep.
This Friday.
Councilor Twill, you wanted to have a little short discussion
Yes.
with capital S, of the Victoria Park.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
At Parks and Recreation, we advanced to do some preliminary and surveying work to expand the grass medium that's currently in Victoria Park, which would take it from where it would start as you're driving through the boulevard to
Brighton Road.
Brighton Road.
Right from Beaconsfield.
Yes, all the ways around,
Yeah.
which is there now. So broke down in three components. One is from Brighton Road. Grass medium would be in the middle of the road, and up where you turn down to the tennis courts. As you know right now, you pointed out earlier, it's kind of like no man's land there now in terms of people that are coming in and out, exiting and entering into that particular road. So possibilities of extending the grass mediums from both sides to kind of tighten it up and make it more defined, and even doing some enhancements as you're going into the canteen and exiting in the canteen. So what I'm asking from the committee here is to participate with Parks and Rec to just do some surveying and some preliminary design work. Paul Johnson, I went to Paul first, I went to Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly recommended, and of course, took it to Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation said, fine. The next step, it's a recommendation from Mr. Kelly, take it to Public Works, and then to do the preliminary work, to see what's possible, and then from Public Works to City Council. That's all I'm asking.
Okay. Where'd you go? Any discussion? Any,
Question just on, so where would this space come from?
Inside, you know where the fence is?
Yeah, on that side.
Push the fence in.
Okay, good, thank you.
Councilor Yankoff?
Councilor Twill and I had had a brief discussion about this before, and it certainly would add some continuity to the park. The whole, you're extending right down.
Yep.
That would eliminate the ability for the harbor hippo to travel through there. But I think that, we can't make decisions based on just the harbor hippo. So, yeah.
On the extension, sir?
Extension of the meeting.
I'd say it's a good idea, but I think we have bigger priorities. I keep going back to the Belvedere, St. Peter's Road, Brackley
yeah.
Roundabout. We keep talking about that.
I don't
Big
think
cons-
this would be a massive thing, though, would it?
No, sir, no, sir.
Just
This is,
extend the
this is,
meeting in the middle of the road instead of-
that's right. And as you know, Chair, you're in the park 2 and 3 times a day. And we gotta make it safe. It's not safe right now. And all we're looking to do is add to what's already there, what's been there for the last 70 years. We're not changing the aesthetics, we're not changing the ambiance, it's just a continuation of what's there. And we just wanna do some exploratory work.
Let's get an estimate and see what it's gonna cost.
Do you have any thoughts, Mr. Adams?
The only question we should, is a lot of that infrastructure in that existing median is very old. I know those light fixtures and all that. I think Frank may have mentioned that to you guys at Parks and Rec. But there's the underground wiring. Well, we had that issue earlier this year that
Sure.
was just finally fixed. My thought is if you're going down that road, you might want to look at repairing some of those things as well as you go, or do an iterative approach. But
And the
that's just
intent-
my only advisement.
And the intent, Mr. Chair, is that these issues will come forward as they look at the preliminary
Yeah.
Review, and if
Mhm.
there needs to be upgrades, they'll have to be
Yeah.
built into the overall project.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair, you're looking at going to RFP on this, or?
No, we're gonna try to do it internally for
Okay.
a bit and to see how far we can take it, your worship, and
Right.
then, depending upon what we find out, there may need to be some outside help, but we'll see how much we can do inside, your worship.
And Mr. Kelly and Mr. Chair, we are planning to do some reinforcement of the seawall or the boardwalk.
So as part
That's
of,
going through Parks and Recreation.
correct, and
So-
also around,
Yeah, It's
also
a different
around the light-
project.
No, but it's part of, that's the
Yeah.
main area.
Yeah.
That's, because a lot of that has been undermined.
That's right.
Also
That's right.
part of the
But-
lighthouse, to your worship,
What's that?
as well as part of the lighthouse area as well.
Yes.
Extending up to there,
So-
yeah.
So once again, all we're looking to do is set a few dollars aside, just do some exploratory work. If
In-house.
it's possible, great, then we'll look at it from an in-depth perspective. But this would make it much safer for all of the people that are using the active for transportation, the inside lane safer. Last thing we wanna see is a mom and dad with 2 and 3 little kids cycling, and all of a sudden the vehicle traffic, for whatever reason, regardless of what size of the vehicle, veers over that line and hits a kid.
Okay, we're okay, everybody okay?
Thank
Green
you.
light.
I think that's it for the agenda,
Just
introduction of new business?
New
Thank you,
business.
Chair.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, one last item.
Yes.
It's about an email that we received about wildflowers and bees.
Oh,
And I'm just wondering if we could refer, I don't know if Scott was, or Wally was CC'd, but I can forward it to them. It's a beautification issue,
yes.
and I think it's a great idea because the council from the area knows the issue and wants to advance it, and I think this is the best time to do it. But could we just send it back to
Sure.
Public Works?
That'd be
And
great.
I'll forward it to you, Scott.
That'd be perfect.
So you
Thank
can get
you.
a look at it, you and Wally.
I heard on the radio yesterday morning, some young ladies that work there at CBC, and they heard about asking people to delay their grass cutting till maybe the 1st of June or so. They thought it was a great idea. In fact, they wouldn't mind it being extended to the end of August. If I cut your grass.
That's why Lori didn't want me to cut the grass. She wanted to have the dandelions. What about in front of your house, Councillor Twilly? Did you have to cut the grass?
Pardon me?
Did you have to cut the grass yet?
Where?
In front of your house? Any dandelions there?
I like the natural look. I'm more authentic than you'll ever be. You're an imposter.
Jamaica.
I'll move, stuck in something.
I just had, 2 emails that had circulated back and forth, and I don't think there's been any closure to them yet. One, have the lights been fixed on the corner of Spring Park, Houston and Pond yet? They were going long, so they're still not done?
Because we can't put the sensors in yet. There's a legal matter at the moment that we have to work through first, and then
ETA? Any idea?
we're working as quickly as we can.
Okay, and then the second one was, a resident from downtown has been, and I believe somebody was dealing with it, but never got to the point. A woman had her car damaged and was asking the question to you, what the legal size of a curb is for her car, and she keeps sending this email back to me, and she says she's still waiting for an answer. I'm just
That would,
wondering.
I know a lady last
Right.
year, yeah, she received a response last year, and I haven't heard back
Okay,
since I
'cause
sent a
she sent me an
response,
email
yeah.
just a month ago.
Okay,
with the
can you forward it on to me, and I'll make sure to, I'll dig out the old email and send it on to her, but yeah, we did
Okay.
respond to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a last point, Mr. Chair, the new lights, the traffic lights at the corner of Great George and Kent with the
Oh, the
colored
neon
black,
sign, yes.
I think fits the,
Oh, they look gorgeous.
that part of the city. We should be looking at doing it on other corners, you know, if we ever look at a pedestrian scramble up there at Confederation.
No, that's passé, sir, you're passé,
Anyways,
sir.
The
was
intent for the
there,
downtown-
Scott, was there an additional, like, fairly large additional cost to do that, or was it?
No, it was fairly inexpensive
Well,
to have the.
we should be doing it for the
The
other
biggest
ones.
cost is you have to disconnect all the electrical and reconnect it all, that's where the
No,
cost
but for
is.
new lights going
Yeah.
up in the 500
Yeah,
watts?
it's a
But
very
we're also-
small.
But we're also looking at doing, taking down some in the
Yeah.
old areas and getting them done and putting them back up.
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, they look nice.
Yeah,
I have a question here before new business.
New business, you have new business?
Just, two little things. One is rain barrels. So are we run out of rain barrels
Yes.
already?
that's water and sewer, I'm not sure.
We're out.
I got a phone on behalf of two ladies and they said.
Terry?
They're
Water
gonna
and
put
sewer.
you on a cancellation list,
That
which
is water and
also
sewer,
serves
that's
as,
it.
next year's list, your first in line or whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
because there seems to be quite a bit of interest, yeah.
What are they, $60 each?
Yeah, which is, you know, it's $110
Yeah,
value
yeah,
or
it's
so.
a
probably,
very good
you know.
value.
It's a good promotion for the city. And that, and the other one was I had a resident on Felling there wondering about sidewalk, or his walk was damaged from the sidewalk plow. Just wondering, I haven't heard nothing from that.
Is that the steps?
Yes, the
Okay,
steps.
it was supposed to be, Joey was handling it,
Okay,
I'll walk
I haven't
with
heard,
him
I
and
just
see.
wondered if there was
Yeah.
any resolve there.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, folks, do we have a move to adjourn?
I'll move.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, great meeting.
Moved by Councillor Twill and seconded by Councillor.
Great meeting, Mr.
All
Chair.
those in favor?
Chair, thank you very much, Chair.
Good job, guys.
Take
Good
care.
job, Scott. Can't give the chair all the